Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 11th Feb today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. Before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give the brief introduction about this initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically in this video, we'll try to discuss various types of questions which would be taken from various sources. So if we will divide our discussion on the basis of sources, it would come under three different parts. So in the first part of our discussion, we are going to discuss questions with respect to current affairs. What we will do here, we'll try to take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We'll try to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we'll try to derive the possible prelims questions which can be asked from those particular articles, so that it will give you the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, what should be your approach when you are reading the news articles, and how you can expect the questions from those particular articles. So this is what we are going to do in the first part of our discussion. And about this video, the most questions which we will discuss here would be from this part only. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the another part of our discussion, where we will discuss questions with respect to static topics, or we can say static portion. Currently we are discussing Indian polity, and in Indian polity we are discussing the office of the president. And in office of the president today we are, right now we are discussing the legislative powers of the president. So today we are going to discuss some concepts related to that, and we will try to derive the possible prelims questions from that part also, so that it will give the idea how the questions exactly can be asked in the exam. After solving questions with respect to current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion, where we will discuss few previous year questions. To me, this is the most important part of our discussion, because in here we will learn how UPSC tries to follow how UPSC follows different trends for framing your papers, how they play with vocabulary, how they have this habit of repeating the questions, and also we will try to learn what can be the different methods by which we can solve the questions if we don't have the proper knowledge, and also we'll try to learn how we can implement this knowledge in the upcoming exam. So this is in a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now, before we start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel. When you subscribe, it helps the channel grow. It motivates us to work more hard for you guys. Please do subscribe it, do share it with your friends, so that they may get also benefited from this initiative if you are getting. And please do write in the comments what do you feel about this initiative. Now with this, let us start with the first question. Here, as you can see on the screen, the question is about the Voice of the Global South Summit. So you may ask me a question here, sir. Why this question? The reason is, in today's newspaper there was an article in the Hindu newspaper which talked about how India can be a bridge, how India can be a bridge between global south and global north, between global north and global south, global north and global south. So here we need to understand what this global north and global south is. Is it about the is it related to the south pole and the north pole? Is it above equator it is called a global north, below equator it is called a global south? Is it so, or it is something different? With respect to, with respect to international relations, with respect to geopolitics, global south and global north is something different. In the global south, we add those countries which are well developed countries. Global, in nutshell, if we will be very much clear and crystal and clear in that, global south are those, global north are those countries which are well developed countries, as here you can see on the screen, which is represented by the blue. Here these countries which are represented by the blue, they belong to the global south. So it does not mean that they belong, global north, those countries which are represented by the blue, they are the global north countries, they are developed countries. So here you can directly see that here Australia, part of the Australia, where Australian continent, where it is actually in the south, but it does not add into the global south. So this is what global north is about. It is the developed countries, and global south here represented by the red color. these are the countries which are underdeveloped or which are in the race of the development. So these countries are called global south countries. So this is, I hope you had got the basic understanding about it. And this imaginary line, it is which represents, which divides the global south and global north, it is called the branded line. So please remember that this imaginary line, it is called a branded line, which divides global south and global north. So here, what is the discussion here? That the article in the newspaper, it talked about how India can be the bridge between the global south and the global north. From the history itself, when India got its independence, we were very much looted country at that time. We were looted by the British people, British government. At that time, we were in a stage where we started our development. We are still in this stage. And at the time we got our independence, we had this approach that we believed in the common brotherhood. We believed in that, we believed in getting away from the world politics. We believed in, forming our own allies. So we had this different understanding from the time we got the independence. We can see that, we can directly see that in the policies of Jawaharlal Nehru, when we went for the non-alignment movement, when every country in the world was either siding one bloc or the another bloc. But it was India, who was the pioneer of the non-alignment movement, and many such countries like Indonesia, Nepal, they were aligned towards India, that we are not going to align towards any bloc. So at that time only, it's this concept of thinking about each other started. This concept of in the global south, in the underdeveloped countries, started, that we have to think about each other, we have to lead by an example. And India started showing its value to the global south, that India can be the leader of the global south. With this, as the time passed, India has introduced many policies or frameworks to show the global south that India can be the leader of the global south. And also, often it is criticized for India. Here you should remember that it is often criticized for India that it is doing this, it is it is trying to compete with China. Actually, that's why it is trying to win these global south countries, win these underdeveloped countries. But even though it may be the reason, but the our way of thinking like that, our way of thinking is a little different. China, they can do the investments, but whenever they do investments, whenever they do anything good for these countries, only thing which they think is of their personal interests. But when our India goes for the investment development, what they do, they will think of the country in which they are developing, the investment in which infrastructure, they will generate jobs for the people who are living there. But China does not do so. So our way of acknowledging these people is different. We give the equal opportunities. We keep, when we sit on the table, everybody is equal with respect to India's policy. With respect to China, it is not so. So we are in a way competing with China, but our approach is way different. We don't believe in the big brother policy which China is believing now, which China is doing. We are way away from the big brother policy, and that's also which they author highlighted. And also, because of India's this approach which India has started, that aligning, thinking of the global south, thinking of what they need, what are their needs. Even though yesterday we discussed about how India has been invited in the France in the AI summit, and it was highlighted, we discussed that how India should highlight the concerns of the global south there, how they should highlight that even though ChatGPT and all that stuff is needed, but for the formation of these AI tools, they should think of the global south. What are their needs? They need their agriculture to be secured. So these things should be introduced in the artificial intelligence. It should be very much connected to the global south, to those African countries which believe in that, which need in those, which has need of those things. So here we can connect these two articles which we discussed yesterday and today, that how India has always raised the cause of the global south. And also we saw in 2023 when G20 summit in 2023, when there was G20 summit was hosted in India, how India helped the African Union to get inducted in G20 summit, in G20 how India helped African Union to get into the G20 in 2023's summit. And also how India raised started this platform of Voice of the Global South Summit, where it raises the voice of the global south. What are their needs, where what are how they had suffered and what are the investments which can be made there. So this is in nutshell to give the basic idea about the global south, what India is doing right now and what author wants India to do. Author wants India to not believe in the big brother policy where we will be only givers or receivers. In our relationship should be more than that. So this is what I hope you had understood everything which I explained here. Now with this, let's try to solve the question and get more idea about it. Here the question says, with reference to the voice of the Global South Summit, consider the following statements. First statement: the summit is an initiative led by India to bring together developing countries from Asia, Africa, and Latin America. 100% correct. As you can see, these are the countries from the Mexico here, which divides the North America and South America from here. It includes the Latin American countries, it includes the African countries, and it also includes the Asian countries. So here you can see 100% the summit is an initiative led by the India to bring together developing countries from Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Second statement: the primary focus of the summit is to address the challenges posed by the climate change and promote sustainable development. Even though this may be the focus, it is the one of the concern, but it is not the primary focus of the Global South Summit, voice of the Global South Summit, that they would be focusing on the climate change, but it has the broader focus like infrastructure development, eradication of poverty, and all that stuff. So second statement is incorrect. Third statement: the Global South refers to countries that share a history of colonialism and face similar developmental challenges. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, what are the correct statements? Correct statements are option 1 and option 3 only. 1 and 3 are the correct statements only. So with this, I hope you had understood the question and also you had understood the context why we brought this question. Let me recap that. It was in the article that how India can be the bridge between the global north and global south. India has always highlighted the concerns of the global south, and yesterday also we discussed how it was proposed that India should highlight the global south's concerns in the AI summit, that AI should be modeled in a way that it should help those countries, and also how India helped the African Union to get inducted in G20, and also through voice of the Global South Summit, how India is highlighting their issues, and also when India got independence, how India led another group, non-alignment movement, which showed India's leadership qualities with respect to this. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding. With this, let us move to the another question and see what else we had brought on the screen today. Here, the question is with respect to the Abraham Accords. Let's see what the question says. The question says the Abraham Accords, facilitated by the United States, represent a significant shift in Middle Eastern diplomacy. Which of the following best describes the primary focus of the Accords? You know, why we had brought this question here? Recently the statement of the Trump with respect to Gaza. Today's discussion was over this Trump's statement with respect to Gaza. What did he said? That he is going to take Gaza, what he is going to do there. And the people living in Gaza, he will tell them to vacate. The people living in Gaza would be vacated to the nearby countries. Here you can see on the map. Here, if it is Gaza would be here, and the people living in there would be vacated to different Jordan and other countries, nearby countries. So what does he say here? What Trump here tries to tell, that these people in the these people living in the Gaza would be vacated from these places and they will go to the nearby countries. And what he is going to do, he is going to redevelop the Gaza. He is going to redevelop the Gaza. He is, as right now the Gaza is the most destructed state, as there it has been the open prison for the people living there. So it is it is demolished site, and to clear that, to make it more more livable, to make it more modern. So what Trump has proposed with respect to Gaza, that he is going to vacate the people there. So with this, the countries who are allies of the Trump, they had rejected it categorically. They said that this is very absurd statement from the Trump. And also those countries who are against Trump, they had already rejected this proposal of the Trump. But what do you think what Trump is going to do? Is he going to make this, is he really going to vacate the people there? the experts say it is not the case what Trump is trying to do here. The politics in the West Asia is a little different. What was before 2022 when the 7 October happened. What the politics before that was very much growing. It was shaping in a different direction. The Artemis Accords were working. Even Trump tried to bring Saudi Arabia in the Artemis Accords, so that the relationship between the Saudi Arabia, here you can see Saudi Arabia, biggest power in the West Asia, the Sunni power in the West Asia. If Trump can align this country with the Israel, that means that the condition in the West Asia would be very much stable, because Saudi Arabia, as there are two biggest cities, holiest cities for the Muslim people there. So if they can align, the idea of Trump was to align the Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other countries, other like-minded countries with Israel, so that the condition in the West Asia will calm down. But at the same time, it would have happened if 7 October would have not happened. If 7 after the 7 October, the conditions in Gaza, the human rights violation, the open air prison in the Gaza, it has changed everything there. Now, after when the Trump made this statement, can he still think of Saudi Arabia being involved with this? Saudi Arabia, they directly rejected this offer, this statement from the Trump. And also the Trump made this statement that they are going to add the Saudi Arabia in the Artemis Accord. To that, the Saudi Arabia also rejected that categorically. So there is a tension in the West Asia. But these statements made by the Trump, what does they actually mean? That the Trump is trying to show to the West Asian countries, to the West Asian politics, that I will make the extreme statement, so let's negotiate now what would be good for us. So this is not, they are not going to take away the Gaza from the Gazan people, but what they are going to do, they are putting some extraordinary pressure on the West Asian countries, so that when the negotiations would happen, it would favor the US and Israel. So this is the whole idea why he gave this statement. And also about the Artemis Accord, as it was in the news, as it was in the article, mention of this was in the article. So with this, the Saudi Arabia rejected the offer of the USA. They said that we are not going to be the part of the Artemis Accord. And also about Artemis Accord, UAE, who were part of this, they had also tried to go away from this. They had gave a warning that if the condition in Palestine goes on like that, they are going to go away from this Artemis Accord. So this is the whole story behind this article, why we had brought this news. And also we know that the major powers in the Saudi Arabia is either Saudi Arabia. Major power in the West Asia is either Saudi Arabia for the Muslim, or Iran. But right now we know Iran's condition, how Israel had made Iran to go on the back foot. Their allies, the proxies of Iran, they had almost been neutralized by Israel. For example, Houthis in Yemen, they had been almost neutralized by the America-led operations like Operation Prospective Guardian. And also how Israel has done that. And also Hezbollah in Lebanon and other such militias of the Iran, they had been almost neutralized. So Iran is on the back foot. And also because of the China's intervention in the West Asian politics, there had been the peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia, the Shia and Sunni power. So it was the prime time for the countries like USA to make them have the peace accord with Israel. But unfortunately, after 7th October, the conditions had gone worsen. And right now, the conditions in Palestine, this does not allow these countries to have this peace accord. So that's why, and the statement given by the Trump, it has further worsened the condition. So in a way, it can favor Trump when it goes to negotiations. But right now, it is been very worse with respect to Saudi Arabia, with respect to Muslim countries and the Israel. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about it. Now let's solve the basic question with respect to Abraham Accord. So here the question says, the Abraham Accord, facilitated by the United States, represent a significant shift in Middle Eastern diplomacy. Which of the following best describes the primary focus of these accords? So what is the primary focus of this accord? Establish a comprehensive regional security pact against Iran? No. Second, addressing the root cause of the Israeli-Palestine conflict. No. Third, normalizing diplomatic and economic relation between Israel and certain Arab countries. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statement would be option C. With this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about this Artemis Abraham Accords and the political conditions in West Asia. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what else we had brought there. Here the question is with respect to bottom trawling. Why it is in news? Because there was an article about this in the newspaper today, which talked about the troubled waters. What are those troubled waters? The waters shared between it talked basically about waters shared between India and Sri Lanka. You know what is happening right now there? Usually the Indian fishermen from Indian coast, they will go there. From the Indian coast, they will go into the waters and they will start fishing there. And the new technique which they had introduced is of the bottom trawling. So what they will do, they will use the nets which will touch the, we can say, surface of the sea, and they will grab everything in it, so which will touch the seabed, and they will get everything under it. So once they had done this bottom trawling in their waters, suppose this is the Indian coast and it is their economic zone, ecological economic zone, which is up to the 200 nautical miles. So up to this, Indian fishermen can do their fishing. After that, here starts this Sri Lankan economic zone. When it is Sri Lankan economic zone, so they cannot fish in this waters. So what they are doing right now, the Indian fishermen, they are entering the waters of the Sri Lankan economic zone, and they are fishing there, and they are using this technique of bottom trawling, which is not going well with the fishermen in the Sri Lanka, and they had always blamed them, and because of this, they had arrested many people and even shot many people. With respect to this, there had been many, discussions going on between India and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, many times India and Sri Lanka had negotiated with respect to that, and from last few years there was these arrests, the death tolls and arrests had come down. But unfortunately, from last 1 year, these arrests has always also increased now. Now these fishermen are detained in the Sri Lankan courts, so they are detained there. And in last year, if we look at the data in 2024, approximately more than 456, I guess, were detained in Sri Lankan courts in Sri Lanka. And this year itself, in 2025 itself, which is only 2 months old, one and a half months old, almost 75 people had been detained. So this number is going to increase. So what does the author here say? What does author here wants to say? That India should very well negotiate with the Sri Lankan countries with respect to that. And even though it is the right of the Sri Lanka to arrest them, but they should be treated very humanly. The unnecessary killing should not be there. And if they are detaining them, they can send them to the India, and we can detain them in our country. So this is what the author says. And here what becomes important for us is this term bottom trawling. A question about it can be asked in the exam. So let's see what does the question say. Question says, consider the following statement regarding bottom trawling. First statement, it is a fishing practice that involves dragging a net along the seabed, capturing both targeted and non-targeted species. 100% correct. It captures both targeted and non-targeted species. Second statement, it has a minimal impact on the marine ecosystem as it only targets species living on the ocean floor. Totally incorrect. It has huge impact on the marine ecosystem, as we saw in the first statement itself. It targets, it captures both targeted and untargeted species, so it definitely impacts the marine ecosystem. Second, it is a sustainable fishing method as it ensures that long-term health and productivity of fish population. Totally incorrect. It is not sustainable. So this is totally incorrect. So with respect to this question, what is the correct statement? Correct statement would be option 1 only. And also, if for example you don't know the you don't have the proper knowledge of these questions, so how you can solve this question? In last class we discussed about the extreme statement methods. Here the first statement, in a contradicting statement method. In the first statement, we saw that it is a fishing practice that involves dragging a net along the seabed, which captures both targeted and non-targeted species. So this is one statement. And second statement, it has a minimal impact on the marine ecosystem, which is totally contradictory to the first statement. So what does it mean? First statement and second statement can't be in one option. So we can eliminate option D here. Then let's see this third statement. It says it is a sustainable fishing method as it ensures the long-term health and productivity of the fish population. So we get from this that this statement 3 and statement 1 cannot be in the same because they are contradicting to each other. So this statement option C is not true also. So we are left with option 1 and option B, A and B only. Here we know the correct answer is it is the fishing practice that involves dragging a net along the seabed, so it would be the correct answer. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about the question and also about the method. Now with this, let's move to the another question. Let's see what we had brought on the screen. Here the question is with reference to India's steel and iron production. Consider the following statement. Why we had brought this question here? Because USA, the Trump, the man with the ambitions, he had raised the tariffs for the steel, and for the Trump has proposed tariffs on steel aluminum imports, and it is approximately 25%. So with respect to this, we should know what countries would get most impacted. It is China which will get most impacted because they trade with USA. It is Canada and Mexico. So this tariff increase which is proposed by USA, which is proposed by Trump, it is directly going to impact these countries, China, Canada and Mexico. But what would be its impact on India? Even India is one of the largest producers of the steel, but we don't trade with trade with USA that much. So it is not going to impact Indian industries, Indian steel. But how it can impact? It can impact indirectly because once such tariffs are proposed, then these countries would go for the counter tariffs. In this way, if they go for the counter tariffs, then it can impact the Indian industry. So this is in a nutshell which you needed to know here. And with respect to that, let's understand India's industry, steel and iron production. Let's have some basic idea about it. The question says, with reference to India's steel and iron production, consider the following statements. First statement, India is the world's largest producer of crude steel. Totally incorrect. Even though India is one of the largest producers of the crude steel, but it is not at the top. It is China which is the largest producer of crude. Second statement, the National Steel Policy 2017 aims to achieve a crude steel capacity of 300 million tons by 2030 to 31. 100% correct. Right now our capacity is 145 tons, million tons. 145 million tons is our capacity, and out of 145 million tons, 90k, something around 90k tons is our trade with US. So it is very much minimal trade with US. So we will get least impacted by their tariff policy. Third statement, the growth of the Indian steel sectors is primarily driven by the domestic consumption and infrastructure development. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, what is the correct option? Correct option would be option 2 and option 3 only. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about this question as well as the concept behind it. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see what else we had brought. Here the question is with respect to New START treaty. This treaty is it was brought in 2010. It is between USA and Russia. Why we are discussing this question with respect to, because Russia has threatened that if the condition between Russia and USA does not go good, then they are not going to, Russia is not going to revoke this treaty. So it could be very much detrimental for both the countries. So here we need to understand what this new START treaty is about. Here we will understand it through this question. Here the question says, with reference to new START treaty, consider the following statements. First statement, it is a bilateral treaty between the United States and Russia on the reduction and limitation of strategic nuclear arms. 100% correct. This treaty deals with the reduction of and limitation of strategic nuclear arms. Second statement, it limits the number of deployed strategic nuclear warheads each country can have to 1,550. Correct. Nothing wrong with the statement. Third statement, it includes provisions for on-site inspections to verify compliance. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the three statements are correct, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option D. So with this, we got to understand that New START treaty, it is about the limiting and reducing the nuclear arms. So this is the treaty which is between India and which is between Russia and United States, and it was signed in 2010. And it is this the time period, it was between 2010 to 2026. And if Russia has threatened that if the situation between Russia and USA does not go good, then they are not going to revoke it. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about it. And now let's move to the another question and see what we had brought on the screen. This is the last question from the current affairs part. And the question is about the Bombay blood group, as it is in news because it is first time in Chennai they had done that a patient which who had the Bombay blood group was infused the blood of the other blood group. So it was done first time. He was the person with the Bombay blood group was the recipient of the other blood group too. So this is very rare blood group in the India. It was originally found in Bombay. That's from where the name had came. So under this blood group, they don't have the antigens, and when they don't have the antigens, they don't have H antigen present. When they don't have H antigen present, then there is no ABO type blood group. So this is very rare, and they cannot receive blood from these such groups. And it was the first time in Chennai which they had achieved this stuff. So it became important for us to understand it. Now with this, let's solve the question and get more idea about this blood group. Here the question says, with reference to the Bombay blood group, consider the following statements. First statement, it is a very rare blood type with a higher prevalence in India compared to other parts of the world. 100% correct. Individuals with the Bombay blood group lack the H antigen on their red blood cells. Correct. Third statement, people with Bombay blood type can receive blood transfusions from any blood group, making them universal recipients. 100% incorrect, because it is very rare for them to receive the blood from any other blood group, because it does not mix well. So this statement, third statement, is incorrect. So with respect to this question, what is the correct statement? Correct statement would be option A, that is 1 and 2 only. With this, we complete our discussion with respect to current affairs. I hope you had understood every question which we discussed here. You had understood every topic which we discussed here. If there is any confusion, please do write in the comments. We will try our best to clear that. Now with this, let's move to the another part of our discussion where we will solve a static based question. Currently we are discussing Indian president. We are discussing the legislative powers of the president. So today, let's see what we had. Here the question is with respect to the President of India to promulgate an ordinance. The power of the President to promulgate the ordinance. Today the discussion would be around this. So let us see what does the question say. We will learn about it through this question. We will learn about the power of the President of India to promulgate an ordinance through this question. Here the question says, regarding the power of the President of India to promulgate an ordinance, consider the following statement. First statement, an ordinance can be promulgated when either house of the parliament is not in session. 100% correct. Or if the president is satisfied that the circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take immediate actions. 100% correct. Either house of the parliament is not in session, or the president is satisfied that the circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take immediate action. 100% correct. Second statement, an ordinance has the same force and effect as an act of parliament. 100% correct. But after the parliament is in action, they will try to make it a legislative act, and if they did not pass it like that, then this ordinance will not follow. Third statement, the president's power to promulgate an ordinance is discretionary and cannot be challenged in the court of law. No, it is not a discretionary power, because they can consult the officer, council of the ministers, and also it is not It is not. It can be challenged in a court of a law. So this statement is incorrect. So with respect to the power of the president to promulgate an ordinance, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 2 only. So from the code given below, the correct code would be option A. So with this, about the ordinance making power of the president is basically mentioned in article 123, which says that if at any time except when both houses of the parliament are in session, the president is satisfied that circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take immediate action, he may promulgate ordinance as the circumstances require. So it is basically in article 123. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about it, and also you had understood the question. Now let's move to the last part of our discussion, where we will solve a previous year question. Here we are discussing physical geography, and this question was asked in 2012. So let's see what question was asked. As I told you, here we will try to learn different ways and methods. Here the question says normally the temperature decreases with the increase in height from the earth surface. Why does this temperature decrease when there is increase in the height from the earth's surface? First statement, the atmosphere can be heated upwards only from the earth's surface. You know, is it correct statement that atmosphere can be heated upwards only from the earth's surface? You know, there are infrared radiations coming from the sun. And, what do you think? Does atmosphere get heated by that? Even though the statement is half incorrect, half correct. So statement 1, it becomes incorrect because it is very much extreme. Even though the heating of the atmosphere, when we move above the earth's surface, when we move upwards the earth's surface, is low because there is a reflection of those infrared radiations, but still there is the heating of the atmosphere, not only from the earth's surface but also from the infrared radiation. So first statement is incorrect. When the first statement is incorrect, we can mark statement 1 incorrect, we can mark statement C incorrect, and we can mark statement D incorrect. So what we are left with, 2 and 3. So this would be the correct answer. What is the option second? There is less moisture in the upper atmosphere, 100% correct. Third statement, the air is less dense in the upper atmosphere, 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statement would be statement 2 and statement 3. With this, I hope you had got the basic understanding about this whole lecture. I hope you would have liked it. I hope you would share it with your friends, and I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.